Welcome back to the Gridiron Podcast, everyone. This is a special edition of the Gridiron Podcast. Let's call it episode 75 and a half, because if you're a listener of this show, we have this weird kind of tradition where we record, and then hours later, breaking news happens. Like, we record, and then within 24 hours, Aaron Rodgers signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're like, wow, we missed that one. We'll get it next week. We're not missing this one, because we recorded late last night, and we wake up to the news this morning that Christian Horner has been sacked as team principal at Oracle Red Bull Racing. So, we had to jump on here and cover that today. I'm Sean Barie. He's Nick Shook if you're watching on YouTube. Katie not joining us for this one, but you can check out episode 75. She did join us on that. We recapped the British Grand Prix. But that's neither here nor there. We don't even care about Nico Hülkenberg getting his first ever podium anymore. We don't care about Lando Norris winning his home race for the first time ever. We are now solely focused on Christian Horner, after 20 years in charge of Red Bull, is gone, Nick. Did you think you would see the day?
No. I thought he was about as close to being made of Teflon as anybody in the business. When I thought about team principals, I think about Christian Horner, I think about Toto Wolff, and then everybody else can be interchangeable. And yet, now he is gone. Sean, I finished editing the show last night. I was just going to come back today and give it a quick pass before posting it. And then I wake up and truly jaw on the floor, jaw on the bed because I was in bed. Never saw this coming, and so many questions, so many things to ponder. Why? Who were the people pulling the levers of power within the organization to make this happen? What does it say about Max Verstappen's rumored dalliance with Mercedes-Benz? Is this the culmination of an internal power struggle? So much to discuss. So we have questions to answer for sure.
Yeah, just gone in the blink of an eye. In a press release, one of the most successful team principals in Formula One history is now out of a job. And Oracle Red Bull Racing tweeting out the following press release: after 20 years with the team, Christian Horner departs Oracle Red Bull Racing as team principal and CEO. We thank him for his tireless and exceptional work. He has been instrumental in building this team into one of the most successful in F1, with 8 Drivers' Championships and 6 Constructors' Championships. Thank you for everything, Christian. You will forever remain an important part of our team's history. First of all, one of the most influential figures of all time in Formula One. And I mean, he's gone, like I said, in a press release. That's what was most surprising to me. He brought them hundreds of trophies, podiums, wins, titles, one texting scandal last year, and you kind of figured that might have been the end of it. When screenshots of those texts were released, you're like, oh, he might not survive this, but he did because Red Bull was still winning. Winning solves everything when you're in sports. Rightly or wrongly, it solves everything. But Red Bull is no longer winning. They do not have a constructor's or a driver's title-winning car. That second Red Bull seat is a black hole of drivers. They've now just gone through so many. I was doing some research for this emergency pod, and I found out that apparently signing and then firing Sergio last year cost them between 50 and 70 million euros. Not to mention, you have key pieces of your team, like Adrian Newey, leaving Red Bull to go somewhere else. And Adrian Newey said last year that he needed to be true to himself, and he couldn't do that at Red Bull. That's a pretty damning, realization if you're Adrian Newey, the godfather, the car whisperer. So the time was right, I guess. Actually, it was probably late because this car is not good. And if you don't have Max Verstappen, I don't even know where you go from here on out. But does Max now want to be part of what's inevitably going to be a rebuild?
Does Max want to be part of a rebuild? God, I mean, how long does Max Verstappen even want to be in Formula One? That's been one of the biggest questions lately. He's talked openly about considering retirement soon. He's won 4, count them 4.
You said 3 last week.
Nope, it's 4.
Yeah.
I've corrected myself. And there was a period as early or as recent as last season in which I think he was openly wondering what is there left for me to achieve. And maybe this is a new challenge. This is very reminiscent of, does franchise quarterback X want to be part of a rebuild, or does he want to go somewhere else? I do think about Aaron Rodgers in his last years with the Packers. There are many a quarterback who have been to this. That's the easiest cross-sport comparison I can make, considering the prominence of a quarterback and the prominence of an F1 driver. But Max Verstappen is different. This is a guy who
This is almost like when Tom Brady left New England to come to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, actually, that's a great comparison. Thank you for nailing that. That's exactly what this is when we look at it from this angle. But I kind of feel like this move was made solely with Max Verstappen in mind, because we know his dad, Jos, does not like Horner. When all the stuff with, I don't even know how to frame what Horner was accused of last year when all that was going down.
He was sending he was allegedly sending inappropriate texts to a staffer.
Go. Thank you for cleaning that up.
There's a Google Doc with all of this in there.
All the evidence and receipts.
You can go find it on Twitter. It's there right now.
Not hard to find. Yeah.
No.
It was basically made known then that Jos wanted Horner out and that he didn't like him and that they've been at odds for a while.
Oh, Jos gave an interview over this and said there is tension at Red Bull and was trying to lead a coup to replace Horner.
Right. So my initial reaction to this was Jos won the power struggle. That this was a move made out of desperation to keep Max from going to Mercedes. Look, Max, we understand you're unhappy. What can we do to make it better? Fire Christian. Done. Sacked. Gone. That's what I think this is ultimately. Or somebody else presented it to me as an alternative theory. He's already lost Max, and because he's lost Max, he's getting fired for it.
That's what I'm saying, because last week Horner wasn't even acknowledging that Max was talking to Mercedes when Max is clearly talking to Mercedes. I'm not saying he's already signed the contract or anything or agreed to anything. I'm just saying he's talking to him. It's the loudest rumor in sports right now. We
talked last night about how this is going to become an investigative podcast at the rate that we're going right now. And I think we have to go back and start watching recent interviews to read facial expressions and listen closer to the tone of Horner's responses. This could have been bubbling for weeks. This could have been brewing for perhaps even months. Because like you said, the car is not what it was in the last few years. They also lost Adrian Newey. They went to their own powertrain supplier that's going to be a Ford supplier next year. They've still had Honda in the mix with them, but clearly they have lost their step ahead. They are now trailing. And after a couple of, a nightmarish result, both at Austria and at Silverstone, where are they going from here? They're not in the Drivers' Championship race anymore. They're not in the Constructors because Yuki Tsunoda is performing just about as poorly as Liam Lawson did in that seat as well. And that's been a running theme, that the second Red Bull driver has struggled mightily. And some people have blamed it on, they tailor the car to Max. Well, if you're going to lose Max, then what? You have no compass. You have no North Star anymore. Looks like we need a new Magellan. You're out, Christian Horner. So I think there's a lot to determine over time. And we won't know for sure for a while, but it is undoubtedly shocking, and I don't know where they go in terms of team principle now.
That you bring up a good point, because this move was either done to appease Max and say, you want Horner gone, he's gone. Great. Are you going to stay now? Or they already, yes, you're right, they already know that they're losing him. So what's the point in keeping Horner around when the car's crap, can't retain your drivers, and once Max is gone, you're going from, I think they're in 4th place right now, to 6th, 7th, 8th place. If you had 2 drivers in that car not named Max Verstappen, you would be fighting. Over the last 4 races, Nick, Sauber has outscored Red Bull. Now, that's due in part to Nico Hülkenberg getting on the podium at Silverstone, but at the same time, that is a wild stat to think of.
And if you think about the long term, you think about the rebuild, who do they have in the pipeline? The pipeline that was once so strong. Liam Lawson's already been demoted. Yuki Tsunoda is struggling significantly in that car. Where are they turning? There's no Kimi Antonelli. There's no Oscar Piastri waiting in the wings for them.
And you know who the first person to text me this morning was, Nick, was our buddy Chris, who went to Miami with us. He was like, dude, did you see the news? And it was right as I woke up. I was like, yes. And I said, I honestly can't believe that they're not taking Helmut down with Christian, because he's in charge of the driver development program. Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, well, then they put in Sergio Perez, not a Red Bull driver. And then you have Yuki Tsunoda, who's flopping. You have Liam Lawson, who flopped. Your developed drivers have been not so great, and they go elsewhere, and they find success elsewhere. So what does that say about Helmut Marko, and what does that say about Red Bull in general, just as they try to get drivers into their car? The only one that's worked over the past almost decade now, aside from Daniel Ricciardo, is Max Verstappen. And then they have a string of losers that aren't losers because they go somewhere else and they go, wow, this is a much better situation and I can flourish here.
Yeah, how the mighty have fallen. A team that had a vice grip on F1 for the last few years suddenly directionless. I look, resident Red Bull fan, even though you're the guy wearing the Red Bull shirt today.
I'm doing it ironically today, but yes, thank you for noticing.
Yeah. And I feel like I felt as a kid when the Browns would fire a coach after one season. I have no idea where they turn next. They have no direction. The only thing they have is a quarterback. They have Max Verstappen, but they have to find a way to keep him.
Do you know what this really feels like? It feels like Red Bull are just kind of grasping at whatever they can get a hold of. Like they're grasping at straws to see what works. They'll throw whoever in that second seat to see if it works. They are quite literally throwing you know what at the wall and seeing if it sticks.
That's why I think this is a desperation move to keep Max.
Yes.
That's why I feel like this was a move to appease Max and his father.
Whether it was done to appease him or not, it is a desperation move.
Because, I mean, if you think about it from a football perspective, again, if you have a quarterback, you have a shot, and you just have to build around him. If you keep Max, you have a shot with one of the best drivers that exists right now. And yet Max, I think, also probably subtly applied some pressure by expressing more interest in other forms of racing as well, like going and putting down hot laps under a fake name, and like things like that. So a very uncertain time, and especially as you go into the new regulations, that makes me wonder too about the development of the car. Maybe they were not pleased with the results they're getting from the development of the car, and honestly, we can go all the way back to the accusations made against Horner for inappropriately messaging a staffer and everything else. Maybe there's more information that's going to come to light there too. Like there's so many avenues this could go down, and all we're left to wonder is like, what does this mean for the remainder of this season?
Speaking of Katie not joining us on the pod, but she did want us to pass along her sentiments on this whole thing, and which she said, and I quote, where is it here? Horner is a weird perv. I'll add allegedly. So there's Katie's thoughts on Christian Horner. Yeah, it's an insane story. It's crazy to think that now is the time that they're going to pull the rug out from under him. And I wonder if he saw this coming, like you said, or not. I guess time will only tell, because this is breaking news today, this morning. But I guess we're going to find out more when we show up to Spa in 2 weeks.
I was thinking about trying to wrap this into our current episode, and I don't think I can. I think it just is a standalone.
This is just a
congrats.
Breaking news, episode 75 and a half, emergency
I have to go get my teeth fixed soon.
You sound great.
You get
Christian Horner.
Christian Red Bull Racing. Instead, you guys get some extra content this week. Shocking! I am stunned. I never expected to wake up to this. And
I feel shocked.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely gobsmacked by the news, and we still have half the season left.
Half the season to go, and a
why
title
we
battle.
Love it. That's
this
why
is gonna
we
be
love
great.
it.
They, by the way, Red Bull promoted the team principal of Racing Bulls, Lauren Meeks, to team principal of Red Bull, so we'll see how he does. I don't think anything really is going to improve with that team this year, other than maybe the actual mood inside the garage and in hospitality and at
I
the
will
factory.
say this. I am also just mildly mourning the loss of one of my favorite characters in Drive to Survive, because Horner was really good at playing villain the last few years.
This is going to be an epic Drive to Survive episode and season coming up.
I have it printed out.
I have it printed out. Checo's been saying the car shit. I have it printed out. A little too much Arnold in there. All right, I think that's it for this emergency episode of the Gridiron Podcast. Let's call it episode 75 and a half. Christian Horner officially out as Red Bull team principal after 20 years building that team from what was Jaguar to what we now know as Red Bull Racing. For Nick Shook, the absent Katie Caldwell, I'm Sean Barie. As always, live life in the fast lane, folks.
Good night, Christian Horner.
And good riddance.